Today, we're going to be talking about how to launch your first cold email campaign fast. And since you want to launch it fast, I'm going to make this video as fast as I can. So what we're going to be talking about today is number one, how to set up the infrastructure. So how to set up all the email accounts and everything you need to know so that you can send hundreds or thousands or tens of thousands of emails a day without landing in spam. We're also going to be talking about strategy. So who to target, why to target them, and stuff like that. Then we're going to be talking about how to build the list, because you need a list whenever you're reaching out to people. And lastly, we're going to talk about the script, because you need to know what to say when you're launching campaigns. These are the four things you kind of need to do. And so let's dive into it. A little bit of context on me and why you should trust me. I've booked over 3,000 sales meetings at this point. I'm just going to keep scrolling so you can get a little taste of all the meetings and let you kind of soak it in while I keep scrolling through here. But we booked a lot of meetings through cold email because I run a cold email agency and we work with a bunch of clients. And so if you want someone to help you, you can check the link in the description, but I'm not going to plug myself too much. First, let's talk about email infrastructure. So whenever you send cold emails, if you want to send them at scale and you don't want to land in spam, you're going to want to leverage what I call horizontally scaled email infrastructure. So what most people do is they take one email account, they'll send 100 emails per day. Google and Microsoft and these trillion-dollar companies, they aren't stupid. They know what you're doing. And they're like, this guy's doing some spammy stuff, and they will throw you in the spam folder. And we do not want to do that. And so what we're going to do instead is we're going to set up multiple email accounts under multiple domains. And in this case, let's pretend I can draw well. We're going to send a little bit from each of them each day. Let's just say 20, 20, 20. And in total, we can send 60. Now, we're going to be doing a lot more than this. I'm a big fan of setting up a lot of email accounts so we can set up a lot of volume and so you can get a lot of results and get a lot of meetings. So first, we're going to be talking about infrastructure. So what do you need to do to set this up? First, you need domains. So the actual, websites or domains that you're sending from. And you also need the email account. So the domain is like the www. The email account is like the John at whatever, right? Again, excuse my poor spelling and everything else because I'm trying to make this quick for you here. So there's two ways to do it. First, I'm going to show you the ultra fast way of doing this. And this is done through Instantly. So I personally send a lot of my cold emails through SmartLead. I think Instantly and SmartLead, they're both great cold email tools. But the reason why I'm talking about Instantly in this case is because Instantly has pre-warmed accounts. So the two ways of sending cold emails is you can either purchase your own domains, set up your own email accounts, and wait 2 to 3 weeks to let them age and let them warm up and do their thing. You have to do all of this stuff again to build a reputation so you don't land in spam. One nice feature about Instantly is that if you sign up, they're an email sending tool, you can purchase accounts directly through their platform. So if I want to do that here, you sign up, make an account. I have an affiliate link in the description if you want to check it out. You can press continue, and then you can go and pick out your domains and purchase stuff here. I'm not going to do that for the sake of this video, but that's one way of doing it. So if you want to get started today, like literally the fastest way possible, go to Instantly, make an account, and then you can purchase pre-warmed accounts. Now, the downside of doing this is that number one, you don't own the domain. It's owned on Instantly side. And number two is that you don't get to pick the names of the accounts or the website. So let's say my company is called Anivo Marketing. If I wanted to send my own cold email campaigns, I might do Matt at some variation of anivomarketing.com. In this case, they're going to give you like John at whatever random website.com. If you really want to get stuff done quickly and you want to start fast, I don't think it's a terrible idea. I personally don't notice a whole ton of different results whenever you use branded domains versus unbranded domains, but I know some people like to have their own branding and whatever. And so the other way, and what we typically do, is just doing it the good old fashioned way. So the way that you do this is you go to your domain registrar of choice. I'm going to use Pork Bun here because I like the little piggy logo that they have, and you can pick out a bunch of domains. So again, my website's anivomarketing.com. So I might do getanivomarketing.com. I might do tryanivomarketing.com. Or if your website, let's just say, is Google, then you can do getgoogle.com. You can do trygoogle.com. This isn't rocket science. You literally just pick out domains that are kind of similar sounding to your own. You don't need to overthink this. I promise you that the names of the domains don't matter too much, at least in my experience. Someone can prove me wrong. But anyways, you can go over here, pick out the domains that you like. Ideally, you should do .coms or something similar. The reason why is because obviously people trust .coms a little bit more. At least I've seen some cases where .coms perform better than all the kind of weird domains. Like you can see here, you can get .xyz domains for $2. Wouldn't recommend that. I know some people do it. Some people see success with it. That's up to your own discretion. So anyways, you go to a registrar, you buy your domains, you're happy with them, however many you want. And as a general rule of thumb, you're going to want to send anywhere, some people send as little as like 2 emails per day per account. Some people send as high as 30, 40, or 50. Somewhere in between, somewhere safe. Typically we send about 15 to 30 depending on the setup, or sometimes lower. But anyways, pick out your domains. And then once you pick out your domains, you're going to want to set up email accounts. Now, again, there's a lot of ways of doing this. I personally am a fan of setting it up directly through Google or setting it up through Microsoft. Either of the options are fine. You can buy it directly through them. There's also some vendors that can set it up for you. In either case, it doesn't matter a whole lot. So you go ahead, you pick out your domains, you set up your email accounts under these domains through Google or Microsoft, and you let them warm up for 14 days. Now, if you don't know what warming is, it's not that complex. Basically, whenever you connect your email accounts to a tool like Instantly or SmartLead, which are both sending tools, you can have them warm up, which is basically sending emails back and forth to each other to kind of improve the reputation of the email account before you start sending emails to strangers. So anyways, that's a super high level crash course on infrastructure. Basically, all you gotta do, purchase domains that you like, set up email accounts, ideally in Google or Microsoft. You can also go the private server route. I've talked about that in other videos on this channel. There's pros and cons to everything. We're just gonna keep it short and fast, as the name suggests. And then if you want the fastest possible option, you're gonna wanna buy accounts that are pre-warmed. That way you can purchase these and start using them, I think same day. Like literally, you buy them and you can start sending emails. So number one, email infrastructure, check. Number two, we're gonna be talking about strategy. And so what does strategy mean? It's basically who you're targeting and why. And I'm gonna use myself as an example. So I sell cold email as a service. I also do cold email consulting. And so my total addressable market, I'm gonna draw this big pond here. My total addressable market is anyone who wants to buy cold email services. Now, there's all kinds of people that can buy cold email services, but then I have the people that I ideally want to be working with. And so this is your ICP or your ideal client profile. And so maybe, my total addressable market could be anyone that's willing to give me money. My ideal client profile is B2B companies that are doing at least $1 million a year, sell something that's expensive. And so that's my ideal client profile. And so this narrows down my audience a little bit more. And then within this ideal client profile of all the people that I can serve, which might be businesses doing $1 million or more a year, CEOs and marketing titles, companies that have more expensive things, then I can subdivide it up into smaller segments, which are, little buckets within this pond here. And these are the campaigns that you should be running. The reason why we want to subdivide our total addressable market into a smaller chunk and then into even smaller chunks is because we can write more targeted messaging. As an example, I don't know if you, the viewer, get messages like this, but I get all kinds of really poor outreach messages that basically say, hey, do you want us to make you more money? Now, I don't know about you. If you get a message that is not that targeted, not that tailored, I'm not responding to it. Maybe people out there are responding to it, but I personally am not. Now, on the other hand, if someone reached out to me and said, hey, Matt, I noticed you run a cold email agency and I saw your YouTube presence. Here's another example of a cold email agency YouTuber we helped. Then that would make me a lot more compelled to respond to that message because it's a lot more tailored and it's a lot more segmented. So to this point, the more segmented we can get, the better we can get with our messaging and the better results we're ultimately going to get with our campaign. All that being said, we have a big chunk of people that we can work with. We have a smaller chunk of people that we'd like to work with. And then within those chunks of people, we have small buckets and pockets of people that we can write tailored messaging to. And so this is ultimately what strategy is determining who to target and what to say. The next logical question you might be asking here is, Matt, what segment should we target? And so there's a lot of ways you can segment out your market. And so again, I'm going to use myself as an example. I want to reach out to my ICP. I'm just going to say is businesses are doing $1 million or more per year. And shameless plug, if you're doing $1 million or more per year and you're a B2B business, you want to work with me, you can check one of the links in the description below to see if we can help you. Anyways, let's say my business profile type that I want is $1 million or more per year and CEOs/decision makers in the US. Now, what I can do here is subdivide into smaller chunks based off of job title, based off of location, based off of pain points. So I'll give an example of what this looks like. Let's say I want to reach out to people that just hired a head of marketing. I'm going to say head of marketing. I'm going to put new head of marketing, right? So maybe I want to scrape people that just hired a head of marketing because that person just came into the company and they probably are tasked with getting more leads and, trying to grow the business, and they were just brought in. And so they probably have some budget to try and spend. And so this is one potential hypothesis of a segment of the market that we can target. Another thing is we can segment by industry. So if I go to my website here, you can look at my case studies and all the people I work with. And so let's just keep scrolling down here and, I can find a customer that I like, but let's just say I want to work with MSPs, which if you don't know out there, an MSP is a managed service provider, which is basically an IT company. So I have a good case study with MSPs. And so what I can do is search for other MSPs. This is another way I can segment out. I'll give one final example just to hit this point home is location. So for whatever reason, let's say I want to work with people in Australia because people in Australia get better results with cold email. I'm just making this up here. Then that's another way we can segment it. So we're still hitting all the points of our ICP, but now we have all these different sub buckets that then I can write really targeted messaging around. And I know this sounds sounds really boring, and this is not the tactical stuff, which I'm going to get to in a second here. You kind of want this in place before you start building the list, because the next logical question is, who are we going to scrape? So let's just use this example. All right, now I've sat here, I strategize. I want businesses that are doing more than $1 million a year. I want the CEOs and decision makers, and let's just do this MSP campaign. I want to work with managed IT companies. So the next question is, where do you get leads? The short answer is that there's so many different lead sources. For the sake of this video, I'm going to use Apollo. Apollo is a very cost-effective database where you can scrape emails from. And so this is what we're going to do here. So if you make an Apollo account, they have free plans, they have paid plans. Again, I probably have an affiliate link somewhere. If you want to support me, you can click one of the links there. But anyways, I'm going to go over here to Apollo, and I have all these wonderful tabs here that I can filter down the people I want to target for. Now, Apollo is a general database. I think they get a lot of their data from LinkedIn. And so as an example, if you want to target funded startups, then there is probably better databases, or I know there's better databases. If you want to target local businesses, there's also better databases. I would say Apollo in this use case is probably the best database that I'm going to use in this example here. But just know that your mileage may vary. You, the viewer watching this video, if you're launching your cold email campaign and you're like, I can't find the right leads, it might not be in Apollo. It might be in a different database. And who knows, maybe you're watching this in 2050 and Apollo is non-existent and there's some other tool and whatever. Apollo is wonderful. I'm going to use Apollo here. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start playing around with the filter. So I'm going to start off and filter for people that actually have emails on Apollo. A lot of their data doesn't have emails, which is okay. You can enrich in other ways, but I just want people that have emails in the first place. Then we're going to move on to job titles. So going back here, if we did a good job and sat down and determined all these things that I kind of sped through, then we can start to fill these in. So I'm going to go back to Apollo and we're going to talk about job titles. There's a couple ways you can do this. You can either go to the management level, click through and do this. You can go to the departments function, click through and do this. Or alternatively, what I like to do is you can go to ChatGPT and just say, I run a cold outreach agency and I want to target decision makers at companies doing 1 million per year or more. Can you please generate an exhaustive list of decision maker titles that I should reach out to? So I can have AI help me here. So I'm just going to do this for the sake of an example, keeping in mind that there's probably a lot more titles and this isn't going to be perfect the first time, but this is just one way that you can get job titles that can potentially help you. And so we're going to wait for this to load for a second. In the meantime, I'm going to talk a little bit about Apollo. You can filter for job titles. You can use the management level or departments feature. This is ways of segmenting it without putting in actual titles. If you want to exclude titles, so let's say I put president here and I want to exclude vice presidents, I can put a negative keyword of vice. Again, this isn't a full Apollo data building video. I'm going to just skip this. I want ChatGPT to hurry up. Thank you. And here's a bunch of job titles we can target. Again, for the sake of speed in this video, I'm not going to comb through them and handle this. You, the viewer, can watch this and figure this out yourself, but this is an easy way to get job titles. So I'm going to go through here and let's just say for the sake of simplicity, I'm going to put CEO and I'm going to put director of marketing. Nice little hack, by the way. If you remove the word of, you're going to get more searches because there might be someone whose title is marketing director. Again, I'm not going to bore you to death with all the nuances here, but anyways, we are on our way to build our list. So real quick, now we have 1.2 million people we can reach out to, and then we can narrow it and narrow it and narrow it. I'm going to add location, United States. In this case, I can filter by revenue in Apollo. Not a huge fan of using the revenue filter. I usually like doing employee headcount. So maybe I'll do 11 or more employees to, see that they ideally are making some money. And cool, we have 54,000 people. I'm going to just scrape a sample set of this to continue on in the name of speed. If you, the viewer, are doing this at home, you're probably going to want to do a little bit more diligence to what I'm doing. And by the way, I have a bunch of other videos on this channel about how to scrape leads and do all kinds of other stuff, but I'm just going to scrape 250 people off and then we're going to keep blazing forward. So far, we have talked about infrastructure, how to set up the email accounts. We've talked about strategy, who to target and why, and we are well on our way to building our list. Now, if it was just as easy as grabbing some people off Apollo and uploading to campaign and, starting to make a bunch of money because of how many leads you're getting, I would be on an island right now. Unfortunately, that's not the case. You need to do a little bit more work here. So one of the things you need to do is you want to verify your emails. That way you're reaching out to people that actually exist in the first place. There's a couple tools that do that. I'll give a couple examples. One of them is Million Verifier. Another one of them is listmint.io. This is one that I like to use to get all of the email data. It lets you get catch-all email data. Again, this is kind of a separate topic for a separate video, but anyways, you can validate your emails. So So if I wanted to take my email data that I just got from Apollo here, I can sign in and then I can validate my emails. Or what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this inside of Clay. So moving on, we got our email data and I'm going to take it into Clay. And if you haven't seen me talk about Clay, I love Clay. Clay is an amazing tool. The reason why is because you can basically do all your data stuff in one central place. You can pull a bunch of different tools into this one central workspace dashboard thing that you can then stitch together data from, use AI, and do a bunch of wonderful things. Again, I have full-length videos on Clay, but I would then take data here and then I can go and add it to a new workbook. And inside this workbook, I can upload the data that I just got. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to import from CSV, and then I can upload the data that I just got from Apollo. And now I have it in Clay. So you'll see it will kind of look like a Google Sheet and you can see it start running here. But anyways, it's going to do its thing. It's going to start running and pull in all the data, and wonderful. Now we have all this data here in one central place. Now, what I'm going to want to do is validate the emails. And so one way you can do it is go to Listment, or if you're using Clay, you can natively like ping all these different tools in one central place, which is what I like to do. So I'm going to press add enrichment. And I think Clay has like a native Listment thing here. So you can see, you can plug in your Listment API key, whatever. You can do this all here and you can do it all in one place. I don't want to burn a bunch of credits for this video. Just know that all you have to do is you can press add enrichment and then you can start plugging away. Now, you didn't see me do it in that example. And so I'm going to show you a different example. So in this case, we got the list. Actually, I'm all over the place. I just realized these aren't managed IT companies. I'm going to go back here and I'm going to talk about how we can filter for that. We're going to go to industry and keywords, and I'm going to do information technology. This is how you can tell I'm going a little too fast. And then I can go and add a keyword like managed IT is one keyword. Again, I have other videos on this channel where I go a lot more in depth about strategy around how to like pull all the keywords and make this super, super targeted, but I'm going to actually redo this. So I'm going to grab this list, 250 people. This is how you know that this is just raw content coming straight from the dome, trying to give you value without diluting it down. And so we're going to export 250 people here. All right. So we just downloaded our new list and now we are going back to Clay. I'm going to go ahead and delete all this data that I just wonderfully imported. How do I do this? We're going to delete it, delete, and then we're going to go in and add a new table and we're going to import it. This is what happens when you're going a little too fast. And now we have our Mr. IT list here. We're going to complete the import. And while this is importing, we will zoom out again. Where are we? We have set up the email infrastructure, or at least hypothetically. We've talked about who to target. We started building our list. Then I realized that I didn't even do the segmentation that I was just making a point about. Then I went back and redid that. And then now we are uploading it into Clay, and ta-da, now we have some hopefully managed IT data here in Clay. Now, again, I'm doing this for the sake of speed. Normally, if you watch my other videos on this channel, I have an advanced Apollo building tutorial. You can see how we can layer on more keywords, how we can have this be more expansive. I'm literally just slapping together the most basic list and not even checking my keywords, but you can go do that on your own time. I just want to show you how to get it live fast. And then now we're back here in Clay. Now, what can you do in Clay? That's probably what you're asking. Like, why do we even need this step? Is that you can validate your emails, which you can do through the other platforms, or I'll show you an example of how you can leverage AI. So I'm going to go over here and press use AI, and then I'm going to move my handsome face all the way to the left there. And then I'm going to reveal this prompting section here. And so nice thing about Clay, one of the key features that we use all the time is their Clayagent feature. So what Clayagent is basically like ChatGPT's agent, or, you know, like web scraping type thing. So I can have it go and do custom searches for each individual lead. So I can make personalized lines where I can do better filtering. I'm just going to show you a really simple use case of how you can do this. Is that if we go over here, I'm going to use the O4 mini model because it is cheap and cost effective. And I'm going to use my own API key here. In here, I could say, you know, because I did a really lazy job in Apollo, or even if you do a really diligent job in Apollo, you're still going to want to filter down the leads list more, because this list, even though they have the keyword managed IT, it doesn't mean that they're all MSPs or managed IT companies, just due to how much data Apollo has. So as an example, if there's a software company and they help managed IT providers, they might have the keyword managed IT in their keyword section somewhere. And so it's a software company that helps manage IT providers. And if you reach out to them and you say, hey, I noticed you're a managed IT provider, it's not going to be a good look. And so what we're going to do with our prompt section here is I'm going to say, I want you to visit this website. And then I can plug in the website that I just got from Apollo here. So I can do slash, and then I can put in their website. So I want you to visit this website and tell me if they are a managed IT company. If they are, output true. If they aren't, output false. So this is a super simple prompt. If we were doing doing this and I had, 30 minutes to share the whole prompt thing, and in the sake of brevity, I would make this a lot more extensive a prompt. This is a very short and simple prompt. The reason why this probably isn't going to be perfect is because there's so many edge cases. Like as an example, I'm probably going to do this and then ChatGPT is going to say more words than just true or false, and it's going to make it hard for us to filter. I'll actually just address that now. So only output true or false, nothing else. So that is another edge case before it even happens of something that's going to happen if we run these rows. But anyways, I'm going to save and run this just to do the demo and show you how you can source your data cleanly, quickly. I'm going to have it run here. And what AI is going and doing right now is checking out their websites, poking around, seeing if they're managed IT companies. And the wonderful thing here is that this will allow us to get a nice and clean list. And so again, I very quickly did this prompt here and it looks like most of these are true. I bet you if I continue to run these, we're going to get some that aren't a fit. And the point of doing this is to make sure our list is accurate, because that's another issue a lot of people run into is they'll scrape a list of 10,000 people and they'll think they're reaching out to managed IT companies. And in reality, 20% of them are managed IT companies, or they're reaching out to e-commerce brands or investment bankers or, whatever type of company it is. And so this is one way you can address that is with the Clayagent feature. And again, I haven't validated the emails here. And so if I want to go ahead and validate my emails, I can do that Listment API run here too. This is why I like to use Clay, is because I can do all these things in one place instead of having to download the list from Apollo, upload it to Listment, take it from Listment, then throw it to an AI tool, then take it to an AI tool, and then throw it to whatever. You can just do this all in one clean central place in one go, basically. So now we have our list. Let's just pretend I ran this. I'm not going to waste all the credits here. And now we have this nice clean list and we can filter for companies that are actually managed IT companies. So far we have done infra, we've done strategy, we've done list, and now we are finally on to script. So what do we say in our emails? And if you've watched my channel, I have a lot of different templates and frameworks on how to write emails. I'm going to talk about a very simple one if you're just getting started, and it's what I would consider to be a pretty effective framework to use that can be applicable in a lot of cases. So there's 3 parts of the framework. The first part of the framework is reason why you are reaching out. So we're cold emailing strangers. We want to get to the point and tell them why we're reaching out. The second thing we're going to want to address is how we can help them, plus proof. Ideally, you want to just not say, hey, we can help you get $1 million. You want to show examples of other people we've helped similar to them. And then lastly, a call to action that is easy to say yes to. So we want to give them an easy way to say yes to our email. So that way we can follow up with them and try and get them in for a call. So I'll show you a quick example of me doing this. Hi, name. And I'm going to use my company as an example. Hi, name. I noticed that you run a managed IT company. Are you happy with how many sales appointments you're getting? So we're starting off with the reason why we're reaching out, and we're calling out something unique to them. So this email feels a little bit more personalized. And again, we're not just saying, hey, I noticed you're in the IT space, which is a very broad. We're going a layer deeper. And so this is where using tools like Clay and having a good list make a big difference. A lot of people will say something super vague and they'll say, hey, I noticed you're in the marketing and advertising space. And that doesn't sound very human. And so we're going a layer deeper. Hey, I noticed you run a marketing agency. Hey, I noticed you run a Google Ads marketing agency. Hey, I noticed you run a managed IT company. All these things are a little bit more personalized and going super broad. So we're leading with a question. Reason why we're reaching out is just asking them, hey, are you happy with how many sales appointments we're getting? Then we're talking about how we can help. We help managed IT companies generate an additional 5 meetings per month, leveraging cold outreach. We recently helped, and then I can insert a case study here, so we can give proof and explain them how we can help them. And then we're going to give them something easy to say yes to. Can I send more info? Now, again, this is a super quick, brief example, not perfect. I'd probably clean this up in a lot of different ways. I'd probably insert case studies that are more relevant or unique to the situation. And on top of this, you ideally aren't just sending one variation of the email, you're sending follow-ups in this email, and you're also sending different A/B split tests so you can test a bunch of different ideas. If you use a tool like SmartLead or Instantly, they let you A/B split test emails, and so we can test 5 or 10 different emails at once, or even 3, just so you can see which one is performing best. But this is a sample example of a type of script that we can run or that I can send on my behalf. And so to recap, now we have a script. And so all we have to do here is go to a handy dandy tool like Instantly or like SmartLead, upload the campaign assets, and press go. Now, there are other parts of this process like spin tax. There's a fair amount of nuance getting lost here because of the name of speed. But if you do all these things right, you can have your first campaign running. And as soon as today, by going to Instantly purchasing accounts, or if you want branded accounts, you buy your branded account accounts, get them set up today, plug them into one of these tools, wait a couple weeks, and then you can do all the stuff that I showed you in the meantime, and obviously tailor it to your business. Now, this exact strategy can work for businesses of all different types. As shown here, we've worked with dozens of customers of all different types, as long as you're in the B2B space, and there are people you can reach out to. Cold email very likely works for you. So if you enjoyed this video, check out the other videos on the channel. And if you want help setting up a cold email system like this, because either it's too complicated or you want it to get set up even faster by people that have done it a bunch of times over, feel free to check the first link in the description below and you can apply to work with us and see if we can help you. Thank you so much for watching this video. Hopefully you got value out of it, and thank you for trusting me with your time. Hope you have a great rest of your day and take care.